Ever heard these before? Probably not. But here's the thing. These aren't just forgotten songs. These are the actual blueprints that built hip hop and R&B from the ground up. We're talking about tracks so foundational that every hit you know today exists because someone made these records first. The problem is, history forgot them. Commercial success buried technical genius. Geography erased innovation, and the hit single became more important than the masterpiece hidden on side B. Today, we're fixing that. We're going back to reclaim 20 tracks that changed everything but got nothing in return. Let's start with hip hop. Back in 1979, when rap was still being born in the Bronx, Spoonie G dropped Spoonin' Rap. This wasn't just another track. This was one of the very first rap records ever made. Spoonie G is credited with helping create the term hip-hop itself. The track featured great storytelling with a smooth, calm rap style that delivered some of rap's first urban sermons. Chuck D from Public Enemy called it the start of the underground. But here's why you've never heard it. Spoonie G made this record before MTV existed, before major labels cared about rap, before music videos. His influence stayed local, peer-to-peer, in the streets and clubs, and his quiet, humble persona meant he got overshadowed by louder, more aggressive acts that came after him. The smooth style that made him great also made him forgettable when the mid-'80s demanded harder deliveries. The themes he explored were precursors to what would later evolve into gangster rap, but by the time that sound became mainstream, his name had already faded from the conversation. Then came Lady B in 1980 with To the Beat Y'all. She was the first solo female MC in history to release a record. Not just one of the first. She earned the title Godmother of Hip Hop because she proved women could do this at the very moment the genre was being created. So why isn't she a household name? Geography. She was from Philadelphia, not New York. And hip-hop history was written by the New York Media Machine. Even though Lady B later became a major radio DJ who helped break Will Smith, Queen Latifah, and LL Cool J, her pioneering record stayed buried because it came from outside the canonical epicenter. The centralization of hip-hop narrative around New York erased crucial innovators who weren't part of that specific scene. In 1981, Grandmaster Flash did something nobody had done before. The Adventures of Grandmaster Flash on the Wheels of Steel wasn't a song with rapping. It was a complete DJ masterpiece. Flash used 3 turntables to scratch and mix different records live, employing techniques like crossfading, cutting, rubbing, and backspins. Critics compare his impact on the turntable to what Les Paul and Chuck Berry did with the electric guitar. This track proved the DJ could be the primary compositional artist, but it got erased from mass memory because it was too technical, too instrumental. When the same group dropped the message later with its profound social commentary and easy narrative that became the story everyone remembered, the technical genius got buried under the weight of the cultural moment. Before we go further, do me a favor. If you're learning something new here, hit that subscribe button. These deep dives take serious research, and your support keeps them coming. And drop a comment. Tell me which forgotten track from this era you think deserves more recognition. Let's build this conversation together. UTFO is known for one thing, Roxanne, the track that launched the Roxanne Wars and became a cultural phenomenon. But their best musical work was actually The Leader of the Pack. This track was a gigantic showcase for their DJ, Mixmaster Ice, displaying technical brilliance that far exceeded anything on their hit single. But the narrative won. The story of the Roxanne Wars was too good, too marketable, too easy to sell. The superior technical composition got completely overshadowed because mainstream memory loves a good story more than it loves sophisticated skill. Now let's talk about a track that wasn't even trying to be a hit. B-Boys Breakdance by Two, B-Boys in 1984, was engineered specifically for breakdancers. It contained the best drum breaks and sounds that dancers needed at the time. This was a functional tool for the culture, an optimized rhythmic structure for the dance circle. It exists outside the standard canon of marketable songs because it was never meant to be a pop record. It was meant to be used. And that utilitarian purpose means only dance historians and specialized collectors even know it exists. Triple Threat by EZ, Rock, and T. La Rock in 1984 was sharp, aggressive, and high energy. It helped establish the harder, denser sound that preceded the full golden era of hip hop. It was a crucial transitional moment, moving away from sparse electro funk toward the complex, harder hidden sound that defined the new school. But it was too transitional. Acts like Run DMC and Public Enemy quickly adopted, refined, and surpassed this style with bigger discographies and better commercial infrastructure. But it didn't get to stay on it. The Cold Crush Brothers were giants of the live show and park jam circuit. Fresh, Wild, Fly, and Bold in 1984 captures their great group rhyming and energy. Group rhyming, where multiple MCs trade lines seamlessly, was a hallmark of New York cypher culture, demanding high synchronicity and skill. But their live reputation never translated to commercial studio success. This is a classic case where the true measure of greatness in early hip hop significantly outstripped the commercial memory left by studio records. A Fly Girl by the Boogie Boys in 1985 was fun, bouncy, and perfectly captures the commercial peak of party rap. But after 1986, hip hop split into two paths: social commentary like Public Enemy and KRS-One, or dense lyrical complexity like Rakim. A Fly Girl, belonging to a simpler, more celebratory moment, was quickly deemed too simplistic by the emerging intellectualized rap scene. The genre matured and became competitive, and tracks like this fell out of favor. Out on the West Coast in 1987, Rodney O and Joe Cooley dropped Everlasting Bass, a definitive West Coast classic. It introduced a super heavy bass sound that was completely different from New York rap and influenced all of California. This track documented the shift from sparse, high-tempo 808 rhythms to a dense, low-frequency sonic signature that would define G-Funk and Miami bass. But the golden era narrative centered on New York. Regional innovators like Rodney O and Joe Cooley struggled for national validation despite setting the sonic foundation for the entire coast. That same year, Steady B from Philadelphia released Just Having Fun. The track featured excellent lyrical flow that often gets forgottenness, like Rakim. Steady B deployed complexity through multis, alliteration, and unpredictable rhythmic structure right when Rakim was ascending to become the gold standard. Steady B was technically excellent, slightly ahead of his time, making him vulnerable to being overwritten by the artists who perfected the style at the exact moment the mainstream was ready to accept it. Add in the fact that he wasn't from New York, and his career was tragically cut short by a life sentence in 1996, and you understand why he's been excluded from the commonly taught golden era curriculum. Now let's move to R&B. The 1990s were saturated with vocal groups, many of whom produced excellent albums that never matched the commercial scale of Boyz II Men. Solo's self-titled debut in 1995 is consistently cited as the best album among semi-obscure vocal groups of that era. The track Heaven is pure, sophisticated group harmony that represented the pinnacle of the mid-90s vocal tradition. But Boyz II Men's disproportionate commercial success overshadowed everything else, preventing this superior album cut from achieving lasting recognition. The vocal arrangement was flawless, the production pristine, but it simply couldn't compete with the marketing machine behind the industry giants. Christopher Williams released Changes in 1992, exemplifying the transition from high-energy New Jack Swing toward more mature lyrical content and vocal delivery. It captured a moment of emotional growth in the genre, but it was quickly lost against the aggressive proliferation of other, flashier, New Jack acts who had more momentum and better chart success. Brownstone's If You Love Me got a remix by Dallas Austin in 1995 that perfectly blended Motown Philly soul harmonies with heavy, evolving mid-90s hip-hop production. This remix was a subtle bridge to neo-soul with superior production value. But remixes often disappear in digital archives and compilations. Listeners focus on the original hit, making this crucial production shift a forgotten marker in R&B history. Mary J. Blige's My Life is a seminal album, but its deep cuts are often forgotten. You Gotta Believe blends raw emotion with gritty, sample-based production, defining hip-hop soul. It perfectly captured the album's emotional core, but it was too raw and complex to be a simple radio hit, so it fell out of the standard playback canon, buried under the weight of the album's major singles. The emotional honesty in this track was groundbreaking, setting a template for a confessional R&B that would dominate. Cook Close is among the essential yet overlooked R&B acts of the 90s. From their album Surrender, I Like showcases superior vocal talent within the emerging bedroom soul style, with competition from established acts like TLC and SWV, coupled with limited long-term promotion, consigned the track to obscurity. The vocal talent was undeniable, but the industry machinery simply wasn't there to support long-term success. Kenny Lattimore's 1996 debut is essential listening. I Don't Know represents a significant counterweight to the dominant hip-hop centric R&B sound, focusing on traditional, sophisticated songwriting and pure vocal ability. It was often overlooked precisely because it avoided the rougher hip-hop soul aesthetic. It was perceived as too smooth, too commercially soft in an area that prized urban grit. Dru Hill's In My Bed got a So-So Def remix in 1996 that marks a key moment where Southern production excellence defined contemporary R&B. Jermaine Dupri fused Dru Hill's superior vocal harmonies with an irresistible regional hip-hop rhythm, but listeners focus on the original ballad version, making this remix a forgotten marker of a crucial production shift. Southern producers were reshaping the entire genre, but the recognition came much later. Tyrese's debut album in 1998 is an essential recommendation for the period. Nobody Else is an exemplary piece of late 90s smooth, romantic R&B that perfected a foundational sound later popularized by artists who achieved greater crossover success. But Tyrese's subsequent pivot toward an acting career diminished the memory of his pioneering musical output. Hollywood made people forget he was a serious musician first. CeeLo Green's The Lady Killer is universally remembered for one song, the novelty pop single that paid the bills. But the superior deep cut is Wildflower, showcasing CeeLo's exceptional vocals and channeling deep funk and soul roots. Its profound soul quality was completely overshadowed by the commercial success of the weaker pop single. The track channels the spirit of earth, wind, and fire with vocals that belong in a church on Easter Sunday. Kelly Price's 2011 album Kelly has strong deep cuts that keep the release alive. Tired is a raw, powerful ballad representing the persistence of classic powerhouse soul vocals and traditional R&B structure, but the shift in mainstream taste toward highly synthesized auto-tune production meant traditional vocalists struggled for traction, relegating this superior emotional track to obscurity. So why did all these tracks fade? Three systemic forces. First, the tyranny of the hit single. An easily marketed narrative or commercial single overshadows technical mastery. UTFO's Roxanne Story eclipsed their superior DJ work. CeeLo's novelty hit buried his true R&B excellence. Second, geographical bias. The New York-centered narrative marginalized innovators from Philadelphia and the West Coast, delaying their national validation. Third, the failure of critics to recognize emotional and technical depth in R&B, forcing quality tracks into deep cuts that never entered the mainstream conversation. These forces work together to erase the true innovators from popular memory. But here's the resolution. These tracks are the true blueprints of genre evolution. Reclaiming them isn't nostalgia. It's a critical mandate for the advanced listener. These songs represent the structural, regional, and stylistic foundations laid by underrated innovators who built the music from the ground up. They deserve to be remembered not as footnotes, but as the foundation itself. Every major artist you love today stands on the shoulders of these forgotten pioneers. Their technical innovations became the industry standard, even if their names didn't become household recognition. The sophisticated production techniques, the lyrical complexity, the emotional honesty, all of it traces back to these 20 tracks that history tried to erase. Thanks for watching. If you want more deep dives into forgotten music history, check out the videos on screen. Let's keep digging.